You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your K-O-B. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your job. Get this thing.
The reason why I don't do police corrupt cop type stories very often is because it really gets under my skin and pisses me off. It really does. First off, we have to thank and shout out, thank you very much, sir, to Mr. DJ Music for this story. Cheers! I kind of feel like, sometimes ignorance is bliss and I would have been better off not knowing. But I'm glad that I do, because I'm glad that we can help shed light on this and put public pressure. If we could all share the story, so that way the public pressure can be put on the DOJ in Mississippi to do the right thing and to, I don't know, maybe for once penalize something like this so that way it stops happening. So that way we don't have the same type of crap happening over and over and over and over again. Wouldn't that be lovely? What am I talking about? Let's take a look at the footage, y'all.
We have a very disturbing story. It comes from Jackson, Mississippi, where a woman says that authorities waited months to tell her that her son had been struck and killed by an off-duty police officer in his cruiser. 37-year-old Dexter Wade died back in March, but his mother said she did not find out about his death until August. The family's attorney is now calling for a federal investigation. Our national correspondent, Jerika Duncan, joins us at the table with more. I heard about this story recently. I'm so glad you're doing something about it.
Yeah, this is a story with a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Betterston Wade said she filed a missing person report with Jackson Police Department in March after her son was missing for more than a week.
After her son was missing for more than a week, in March, she filed a missing persons report. At the time, her son was not just missing, he was already dead. He was dead because a cop ran him over. They knew this. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that the facts were clear so far. Let's keep watching.
Says when she was finally informed about what happened to her son, he was already buried.
In Potter's Field.
He was my only son. And I would have never thought this had happened to him.
Betterston Wade says she last saw her son Dexter on March 5th when he left home after an argument. Days later, Wade reported him.
Dexter on March 5th. Dexter Wade. This poor mother.
Missing to the Jackson Police Department. Wade said she spent months following up and searching the city for her son, even asking for help online.
He just disappeared off the face of earth and nobody knew where he was. None of his friends, nobody.
Oh, what she didn't know
no,
was
ma'am.
that Dexter was...
No, ma'am. And I'm not trying to correct you. What I'm saying is you said nobody knew where he was. Oh, yes. People knew where he was. The police department, the same police department you reported your son missing to, absolutely knew where he was. Absolutely. They were so busy covering up and burying your son in Potter's Field. Right? Where they bury the John Does, the homeless, the people they just have no family. Yeah, well, they were busy doing that, running around. They're telling you, I'm sorry, no information about your son. No John Does with his description have come in years, ma'am. Sorry. So it was not nobody, ma'am, respectfully. It wasn't. Because the same police department you turned to and asked them for help when days turned into a week and you hadn't seen from or heard from your son, that same department are the same people who knew exactly where your son was the whole time.
What she didn't know was that Dexter was already dead and buried in a grave marked with only a number at a cemetery outside a county prison.
All the time. He was right down there in the morgue. All they had to say was, Miss Wade, your son is in the morgue.
According to his death certificate, Dexter was killed on March 5th, less than an hour after he left home when he was accidentally struck by an off-duty officer driving a Jackson police SUV near an interstate exit. Wade says police told her about the incident on August 24th. Nearly her about the incident.
I want y'all to process what happened. Her and her son got into an argument. People do that. They're angry, upset, whatever. Her son left to blow off some steam. Meanwhile, an off-duty officer who was probably drinking and driving, because if he wasn't absolutely at fault, like you're going to prison for manslaughter fault, why would they have done any of this, right? Well, that drunken officer ran this kid over less than an hour from the time he left his house to blow off some steam on March 5th. So when the mom reported him a week later, they already knew what they did. All to cover up for this off-duty officer who bet your ass was so guilty. And I don't mean of just running him over. I mean of driving while intoxicated, driving while drunk. They were covering up for that man who took a young, promising life and then lied to the mother. From March 5th to August. 6 months. 6.
Jackson police SUV near an interstate exit. Wade says police told her about the incident on August 24th, nearly 6 months after his death.
Give me a reason to really, why y'all did not contact me? Why y'all didn't knock on my door?
Wade said a coroner identified Dexter from a prescription medication that he was carrying and received the next of kin information from a medical clinic. According to Wade, the coroner was unable to reach her, but she was told Jackson police tried to contact her several times. Wade says she never received a call.
It was, in fact, an accident.
Bullshit. You know why we know it's bullshit, y'all? Do you know why we know? In case you weren't figuring it out here, let's connect the dots, right? So we're saying, right, that Ms. Wade, they're trying to call herself because her son, Dexter Wade, was missing, right? Not missing, but no, they found him, he was dead. They were trying to, next of kin. That was really what it was. He wasn't missing, no. Where am I getting the missing part from? Oh, I know where I got the missing part from. Right. While they were calling her multiple times, she was waiting a week, hadn't heard from her son, called the police department, said, "Hey, I'm Ms. Wade and I'm looking for my son, Dexter Wade." Went and made the missing persons report and everything. And then almost 6 months later, they told her where her son was. So what we're trying to do is what? We're trying to suggest that those people who were frantically trying to call her a week ago, by the time she came in and made the report, they were just what? Well, all those people quit. They didn't know. They're deaf, dumb, and blind. These two departments don't speak. Like, what excuses are you trying to make? Exactly.
And that there was no malicious intent.
Jackson's mayor addressed Wade's case last week.
There was a lack of communication with the Missing Persons Division.
For 6 months.
The coroner's office, an accident investigation.
Wade's frustration with the city runs deep. Last year, a jury convicted a Jackson police officer of manslaughter and the beating death of her brother.
It was intentional that they did not contact her.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump is now representing the Wade family.
We're going to petition the court to have his body exhumed and have a independent autopsy performed and then give him a proper funeral for his mother and his daughters and his family.
Wade's frustration with the city runs deep. Last year, a jury convicted a Jackson police officer of manslaughter and the beating death of her brother.
It was intentional that they did not contact her.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump is now representing the Wade family.
We're going to petition the court to have his body exhumed and have a independent autopsy performed and then give him a proper funeral for his mother and his daughters and his family.
CBS News reached out to the Jackson Police Department, but did not hear back. And as you heard Mr. Crump just mention, that they hope to have Dexter's body exhumed, but they're hoping to do that next week.
Jeez.
To look at the amount of trauma this family has faced, though, and to know as a mother that you're doing everything you think you can, whether it's going online, asking people, going to the police, and somehow, as the mayor said, it was a lack of communication. For this family, they just say that's not good enough.
Yeah, that's more than a lack of communication when you have a prescription bottle that has his name on it. He's 37 years old. Why did they finally decide to tell the family that he was killed back in March?
And without the police really coming out and addressing this head on outside of the mayor, and what he has said, there's still a lot of questions, and the family wants to know. When you think about in the context of Jackson, Mississippi, Jim Axelrod did an investigation last year, which showed this is a place with some of the highest rates of homicide in this country, 156 homicides, I believe, in 2021. There he is speaking to some of the people who were saying that police weren't taking their cases seriously, that 4 out of 10 are solved.
Yeah.
You know what I keep thinking? This mother, they had an argument with her son. Right. You sometimes have arguments with your children. Right. And they leave on that note, and she's never had a chance. She's never had a chance to have a conversation with him.
And she talked about in the news conference, it wasn't normal. You know, they would have their disputes, and like any, mother, son, or daughter, they'd come back. It's all good. I'm sorry, mom, whatever. She didn't think anything of it as he walked out. She had no idea, obviously, that would be the last time.
Well, I hope that she gets the resolution that she needs.
Hold on. Why are they talking about nothing? Because I'm not understanding why we're not addressing what was just said. Ms. Wade lost a brother to a beating death of a Jackson cop. A Jackson cop beat her brother to death, was convicted of manslaughter like a year ago for beating her brother to death. That's why I had to rewind it and make sure I heard that right. She lost a brother because her brother was beat to death by a Jackson cop who, very recently was imprisoned for his manslaughter charge. And then very shortly after that, her son gets mowed down by another Mississippi cop. They find out this is Dexter Wade, the nephew of the guy another Mississippi cop beat to death. I know what we should do. We know exactly who he is. Let's hide him in Potter's Field for a while. Just until the heat dies down. Especially if, as I suspect, that cop was drunk, high, or otherwise when he plowed over this kid. Was it intentional? Were they aiming for him in retribution? I don't know. My spidey senses didn't say that necessarily, but it doesn't mean it's not true. I don't know. What I do know is I find it quite shady that no one's talking about it. I don't know, but y'all let me know what you think. Because, again, Ruby likes to wear a tinfoil hat on these ones. I get it, but it seems pretty cut and dry to me. I don't know.
You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your K-O-B. You about to lose